Our president is manipulating the stock market. Tariffs are wreaking havoc on American businesses, and it's now harder for a large swath of the American population to vote. I'm Mallory Hagan.
And I'm Maggie Gelson Burnett. This is Pretty Furious.
All right, Maggie. What a week.
Another day, another dollar.
I love it here. There's so much happening.
I feel like our open every week is just you saying, "All right, Maggie," and me
It's
just
like
laughing because I'm like,
just the world is crumbling.
good times, good times.
Good times. But you know what? We actually have a great show ahead. I am just super excited to finally meet and speak to in real time Deshauna Barber. First, we want to make sure you're following us everywhere you can at Pretty Furious Pod. We're on Blue Sky, we've got TikTok, Instagram. Please go like, follow, subscribe, and if you're feeling fancy, leave us a review.
Yes, we have an amazing giveaway happening over on Instagram as well right now. We are trying to grow our follower base over there, so we have like over $500 worth of our favorite beauty products, lots of good stuff in there. So all you have to do is go follow us on Instagram and like that post. You'll be entered into the giveaway. So, Mallory, we can't be pretty furious without being pretty first. So what product are you loving this week?
I am obsessed with this Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Compact. I love a good loose powder. It serves its purpose, don't get me wrong. But this has really been taking the cake for me recently because it fits in my purse and it makes my pores look small and my skin look smooth. So that's my product this week. How about you?
That's so funny because I literally just ordered that from the Sephora sale. So
Did
I'm
you?
very excited to try it. My product this week is the Elta MD UV Clear Tinted Sunscreen. So this is SPF 46. This is apparently really good for people who have acne and rosacea. I will tell you that if you are just looking for something that will give you a very light filter on your face, this will do that. Like it literally just takes away my redness. It's really nice. So yeah, I don't necessarily recommend it for underneath makeup because it does kind of pill a little bit, but it's good if you're just doing like a gotta throw something on this, some mascara, call it a day. So been loving that.
Question. A lot of sunscreens leave a white filter on my face. Does that leave a white filter on your face?
No, because it's like it has a little tint to it, a glowy kind of, yeah, it almost looks like a skin tint.
All right. In direct opposition to skincare, the headlines this week are absolutely insane. Which one has made you pretty furious?
Okay, so my headline comes from NPR. This is from a couple of days ago, April 8th. And this says, new Social Security rules will create hurdles for millions of seniors, report finds. So this is talking about the new rule that will go into effect on Monday regarding people who are seeking Social Security via retirement or survivor benefits. Basically, the rule is that they can no longer apply via calling into the office now. They have to go in person to like a satellite office. So as you can imagine, this creates a ton of issues for people who don't live in a major area where they have access to going to an office, for people who maybe can't drive or don't have public transportation. I believe it will affect around 6 million seniors. So yeah, that sucks. Super lame. Like, why are we making it more difficult for a very specific population of people who arguably, you know, most of them probably have issues driving or getting around in the first place? Why are we making it harder for them to receive benefits that they have paid into for their entire lives?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
It's so funny to me how the population of people who voted for this administration were just so convinced that they would not do anything to touch Social Security. They wouldn't touch Medicare or Medicaid. And here we are looking on a daily basis at them doing things to chip away at people's access to those programs that they need and making it more difficult for them to utilize the programs that they pay into. It's super frustrating. Speaking of another thing that you now have to do in person because thanks to Congress, well, you don't have to do it yet, but my headline is Congress voted, so we're recording this on Thursday, it airs on Monday. Congress voted today, Thursday, April 10th, to pass a bill requiring proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. And that's otherwise known as the SAVE Act. You've probably seen or heard about it on social media over the past few months. It's something that's been in the works for a while now. It will make it more difficult for roughly 69 million married women across the United States to vote. And it requires that you show proof of citizenship via your birth certificate or a passport. This is such an egregious infringement on our right to vote. And anyone who sees it otherwise does not understand how our rights work. It's also already, so they're doing this because they say that they're keeping people who are illegal immigrants from voting, and that's already against the law. So what they're really doing is making it such that you can no longer register to vote online. You have to show up and do it in person. And if you do it in person, you have to have your birth certificate or a passport. There are like 150 million Americans who don't have a passport. It's just enraging to me. And so we still have an opportunity to keep this from being passed in the Senate. So if you haven't called your senator yet to tell them to vote no on the SAVE Act, then now is a good time to do that.
It's just another way that this current administration is taking a sledgehammer to democracy. And if you think otherwise, you are misinformed.
Yeah, you are not paying attention.
Exactly. Well, we have an amazing conversation, though, coming up with the just delightful Deshauna Barber. She is just incredible. Deshauna is an international motivational speaker, host, Army veteran, former Miss USA, and the founder of Women Veterans for Change. She was crowned Miss USA in 2016. She became the first soldier to win the title, and later she made history as the youngest president and CEO of the Service Women's Action Network, or SWAN. She uses her ever-growing platform to advocate for increased support for soldiers with PTSD. She is also a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. She is now the host of Sour Loss, Sweet Lessons, which is a podcast where she talks self-care, self-love, and self-improvement. We will be sure to link that show in the show notes. All right, Deshauna, welcome in. We are so excited to have you here. Now, you brought a headline that has made you pretty furious. Can you read it for us?
Absolutely. The headline is Miss USA's mental health crisis.
Oh, what is Miss USA's mental health crisis?
What's every pageant girl's mental health crisis, right?
So real.
It always seems like there's some level of mental health and emotional health that's attached to pageantry as an industry itself. So yeah, and as of right now, we're in a predicament in which we unfortunately lost a Miss USA due to suicide. And it was heartbreaking for all of us as a community. And it really just leads us into what are we doing to be able to advocate for women's health, but specifically those that serve in pageantry and are exposed to all of these, large platforms. Many of us go from having very normal, regular lives, and then we are thrown into the public eye, and oftentimes the resources necessary to be able to support us is not available. I'm pretty furious about that.
Yeah, definitely something that Maggie and I can relate to.
For sure.
I think what's so interesting is that the world of pageantry, Miss USA, Miss America, and other competitions like them really attract young women who are highly accomplished or desire to achieve more, goal setting, the type of women who want to do what's next, climb the ladder, if you will. I got to thinking about everything that you've accomplished, which is so much. And I'm wondering if you think that your drive to succeed is more nature or nurture?
Cool. That is a great question. Is it more nature or nurture? It's probably nature more than anything. I think I have this deep rooted level of drive and persistence and commitment and resilience. And there's just all these pieces of characteristics that I think that my parents passed down to me. It's kind of the household that we operated in, where no excuses, you got to figure it out and you got to do it. I don't come from a wealthy background. My mom was on Section 8 government assistance growing up. My dad was military and, they got divorced when I was very young. So I grew up in a single parent household and my mom was a bus driver and an auto mechanic. It is one of those things where people say, are you running towards your dreams or are you running from something else? And I always tell people that my success is actually a trauma response, unfortunately, but after much therapy, I realized that that's the source of it, that it's actually not that I'm running towards wealth. I'm actually running from poverty. So that's what keeps me pushing and driving and committed to this journey, is because I don't ever want to experience that again. Not necessarily because I'm so excited for what's ahead of me, but because I'm running from what's behind me. And I've had to reckon with that type of mentality, because you're in a fight or flight mode and you're always focusing on success. So even my husband was talking about it, at the fact that I don't understand stillness. This is probably the most still I've been in my life. And that's because my husband pays all the bills, thankfully. And although we go in 100, my income pays off debt and goes into savings and investments. But his income is 100% our bills. So I've never been able to kind of just sit still and know that the bills are going to get paid. That's very strange. It's a strange concept. I've never understood this life, this soft life. So, speaking has its waves and its chapters that are really busy, and then it has slow seasons. So in slow seasons, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I got to work. I got to find something to do. I got to find something to do. All to find out that no, Deshauna, the bills are going to be paid anyway. You need to relax. So my husband's always just like, you got to chill. You got to learn to relax. Just watch TV today. It's Saturday. And I'm like, no, I got to find something to do. Let me update my website. So it's a trauma response that I'm still reckoning with. And it's funny because I didn't discover it until I got married, that I've always been in a grind mode. I've always been someone that is a hustler and that works really hard. So I don't know how not to work hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Stillness is really difficult. I relate to much of what you just said in a lot of different avenues from childhood to now. And stillness is difficult. And I too recognized that when I got married.
Peace and
For
stillness
sure.
and soft girl life is something we're not used to. So like I sit back and I'm like, oh, he's a provider. Okay. This is great.
I'm curious, Deshauna. So this kind of level of ambition and achievement and success can often be really intimidating to men. I know I speak for myself. I'm sure I can speak for Mallory when I say that dating in my 20s, I certainly came across several men who were like, "Oh, you seem to be you're an achiever at your core." And and I am. I definitely identify as that, but I think that really kind of pushed them away in a lot of different ways and was very intimidating. So, I'm curious to know how you think men who were maybe intimidated by your success, how that shaped your 20s and maybe the early part of your 30s while
Oh,
desiring having a partner and a relationship.
oh man. So we're going to run into this like toxic relationships conversation, because when I tell you my dating life prior to getting married has been traumatic. It's
Mhm.
been completely and 1000% traumatic. So, and we all know this as pageant girls, that we actually have a tendency to attract narcissists. Why do we attract narcissists? Because we are beautiful women, right? And narcissistic men are individuals that are full of low self-esteem. So to help boost up their ego, they like to have some eye candy or a beautiful woman on their arm. So we attract a lot of very toxic men. Every pageant girl has probably had at least one or two toxic relationship experiences. And it's very sad and it's very unfortunate. But when you add those two combinations together, a narcissist and a pageant girl, what happens is that you run into a position in which these men want to make you feel less than, right? Their goal is to not make you understand how beautiful and successful and kind and great you are. They want to do everything that they can to make sure that you don't know how great you are, with the hopes that you won't attract other men, and then therefore you'll recognize how great you are and you're going to attract another man, and then they're gone. So I have dealt with men that I believe thought that they could handle my success, thought that they could handle the exposure that I have, the platform that I have. And then after a couple months, they realize they can't take it. They can't take it. And I've also experienced men that are so deeply obsessed with the idea of me that they become abusive. And, for those that don't know, and I'll tell, everybody on Pretty Furious, is I've had a stalker for, it's 2025. I've had a stalker for about 6 years now. This number that I have on this phone is my 14th number, and I just had to change it last September. So I have been dealing with crazy exes for a very long time, but a particular crazy ex who still has a storage unit of my items that he's had for 6 years now.
Oh
So
my
I,
gosh.
unfortunately, it's when I tell y'all, if you go on to Cammie Crawford's podcast, former Miss Teen USA 2010, previous host of Catfish, she has an episode called Surviving a Stalker featuring me. We run through the whole situation. But the point is that we as pageant women, but especially as successful women, we have a tendency to attract the most toxic types of individuals. Men that believe that they have an ego that's strong enough to handle a successful woman, but they find out that it's not. And I think that that plays to them not understanding who they are and then us not being able to catch the red flags, which I was not able to do in my youth and in my younger years and in my 20s. So, yeah, I'd have to tell you it was very hard in the dating world. I'm so grateful when my husband came along. Gosh, he was just like just a ray of sunshine to finally be okay with having a, a man being okay with having a woman that's successful and literally seeing him constantly rooting for you. And it's sad to know that I've never experienced this in a relationship, a man that's actually truly authentically rooted for me. But in this marriage, I feel so blessed. So blessed.
Again, relatable. I think all three of us have obviously been through relationships, or if it's not a full blown relationships, dating someone who does their very best to make you feel like shit, does their very best to make you feel stupid or can't believe you would say that or wear that. And right before I met my husband, I wouldn't even call what was happening dating, but same. And when I met my husband, the level of peace that I found, I was like getting tired and falling asleep on our dates because I was so relaxed and at peace. So that makes me think, in the midst of all of that in your own life, did you ever think that maybe you wouldn't find your person?
Oh, I was prepared to be a cat lady. I was absolutely. When I tell you, when my husband and I, when we started dating, so I'd already known him. We had been friends for a couple years, already knew him. And funny enough, I met him at my roommate at Miss USA was Miss Kansas USA, Vicki Wiggins, now Vicki Moore. And in 2017, she got married, and my husband was one of the groomsmen. So I met him there, and we were friends for a couple years. And when we did reconnect in 2020, I friend zoned him. I thought we were just friends. I thought we were sticking with that. So he actually caught me off guard. I was preparing to spend the next 65 years alone with multiple cats and dogs and animals running around the house. I was prepared. I was fed up. I had reached my limit on the amount of men and the turmoil that they had caused in my life. So yes, it is almost, you know, what's interesting is that it's right when you give up that the right guy comes along. So it's almost as if the heavens is trying to just push you to your limit. And I hate to say that, but at bare minimum, it's almost like I need you to learn these last bit of lessons before I send your person along. And I feel like that's where I was at in my life. I had reached the last bit of lessons. And then I also was the type of person, I'm a Sagittarius. I don't know if you all are zodiac ladies, but I'm a Sag. And
Oh yeah.
good. What are y'all zodiac signs?
I'm a Leo. So
Okay.
I love a fire sign.
Love it. Same.
I am a Capricorn.
Okay. We like Capricorn women. We don't like Capricorn men.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I've had a few of those in my past as well.
yeah. My stalker is a Capricorn male. Yes, they are off their rocker, off of it completely, not even touching it. So, but I'm a Sagittarius, so I really love companionship. And I've always, in this very subconscious way, I'm a little ashamed to say, but I've always kind of been in pursuit of partnership in some way, shape, or form. Like after one relationship is over, I'm like, well, who's going to be the next one? I want my companion. And then in this particular situation, when I got to the point where I felt like I no longer need anybody, I no longer want a companion nor need a companion, I'm okay with being Deshauna and being alone. It's almost as if that's when my hubby came along. So I think that maybe the lesson that was necessary for me was the idea that you really have to be okay and comfortable with yourself as an individual before you can attract a healthy person that's also coming as an individual. Whether we're not coming as 50-50, we're coming as a whole 100% person and a whole 100% person. So it's almost as if this higher being is waiting for me to reach that point where I recognize and understand that I'm not just saying it just so I can attract somebody. I really mean that I'm okay with being 85 with 10 cats. And once I got there, that's when, he came along.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm
Yeah.
curious to know, so you've lived in, well, let me go back. Where do you live right now? Do you live in St. Louis?
St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. First of all, I used
I've
to live
only
in
been
St.
here for a few
Louis,
years
so
though.
love St. Louis. Amazing.
Good.
But you lived in major metropolitan areas before, prior to St. Louis. What was the dating experience like in these major cities? I only know from my experience, I lived in New York prior to COVID. Dating in New York was literally the worst thing I've ever done. Like, I mean, I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. It was terrible. So I'm curious to know what that experience was like dating for you in those major metropolitan areas.
Oh, horrible. It's absolutely terrible. So majority of my years were spent in DC. And, in DC, everyone is very career focused. Everyone is very, very, very focused on their career. So all of my friends, male and female, are single or they've been in long-term relationships for like a decade, but no one's married. Nobody. And then I come to St. Louis and literally my husband is the last of his friend group to get married. So it's almost this very differing experiences where when we walk out, everyone is married. Me and him went to a gala with his parents who have been married for 35 plus years. And all of these couples are standing up and they've all been married for 35 plus years. So it seems to me like the Midwest in its own way is a very family oriented space. And culturally, everyone is focused on what they can do to be able to create that family dynamic. Whereas some of these major metropolitan cities, everyone's just focused on their career. They're focused on grinding. They're focused on building generational wealth. And I think that that's great. But I also think it's important to have a balance, right? A lot of my friends, when they do finally find someone and they settle down, the guy is in his 50s and 60s. And it's like, okay, you're finally ready now, guy, right? What have you been doing for the past 40 years? So it's so strange to see the differing experiences of dating. But I always tell women, do your best to change your location on the dating apps. Try to find Midwest, non-major cities, or stick with what you're doing and just make sure that you're working with someone that values family. And if you can find that, then you might find that middle ground individual that loves family and career, because you want both, right? You don't want just one or just the other. But I just find that in the DC area in specific, I was not able to find that.
Yeah. I think for me, also having lived in New York in my young early 20s, what I realized about large cities was that there's just always something around the corner. When you're in more Midwest spaces or even smaller towns, part of the reason I moved to Huntsville, Alabama was because of the defense industry here. And I was like, there's got to be some well-rounded men who come from other places, who are not from Alabama. And I was right. But yeah, it's this idea that there's always something better around the corner. People are swiping and swiping and swiping, and so it can make things really difficult. So you've been married a couple of years now. What was different about Marvin? What set him apart from everyone else?
I don't want to get emotional when I talk about this man. Okay, let's see. He has a warmth about him and he's very emotionally intelligent. His dad is actually a psychologist and works as a principal at a at-risk youth high school. So his dad, to me, at least from what I've observed, is just an expert at how to handle and discipline children. And then his mom is just fabulous, everything fabulous, right? So it's just, you have this combination of parenting. So I'll give him some credit, but I feel I would credit his parents for who he is. And one of the things that I noticed about him is his ability to communicate calmly. And oh my gosh, this sounds so toxic, but I grew up in a family where both my parents were military, but specifically my dad was a drill sergeant. And we all know what happens at basic training with drill sergeants. All they do is scream. Well, unfortunately, my dad kind of carried a little bit of those tendencies into our upbringing where he screams first and asks questions later. And my mom was the same way. So I thought that that's normal. When you get mad, you scream, you yell, that's normal. So unfortunately, that's the type of men that I'm attracting, and that's the type of men that I'm dating, are men that feels like it's okay to scream and yell at the top of their lungs. They feel like it's okay to punch 1,000 walls. Like that's just the normal piece. And I felt like that was acceptable to me. As long as you're faithful, that's all that I need. And I know that that's like, again, the toxic thinking. But when I started dating Marvin and I noticed just his calmness and his ability to be able to provide healthy communication. And then what I found out is that, okay, now Deshauna, now you have to work on your communication because you're used to yelling and screaming. So you're a yeller and a screamer and he's not going to take that. So I think it's been really nice it sounds bad, but to be almost the flawed one in the relationship, because you're almost always used to the other person being flawed and constantly giving them grace. So for me, it's like the tables have turned where now there are so many things that I'm working on to become a better version of myself, but in the healthiest way. And I think that that's probably one of the top things that sets him apart is his communication and being in a relationship where you want to become a better person because of that person. So yeah.
Ooh, isn't it hard to be the flawed one though?
It is though.
It's the worst, man.
It is.
I relate.
I hate that shit.
I'm like, wait a minute. Whoops.
That's true. I was wrong. Dang, I'm not used to saying I was wrong. I'm used to you guys being wrong. Now I gotta change that. Yeah.
I think a word that came to mind a lot, going back to high achieving, strong, word that came to mind a lot for me was leadership. Kevin is such a leader, and I thank him for that because he too communicates well, and it forces me to stop. And I don't like to communicate at all, despite my Capricorn-ness. I like to hold it all in, and then one day I'm like, I'm just done with you. And so he really forces me to sit down and talk about it. So being with men who are good, strong, healthy leaders, I think, is good for us, but also hard because you're like, now wait a minute, I'm used to being the one telling other people what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, Deshauna, too, you said something that struck me earlier, which is you said that you had been friends with your spouse for a couple of years prior to dating. And that was always something that my parents have been married now for coming up on 50 years. And my mom always said to me, you will know that you have found your partner, your spouse, whoever, when you realize that friendship is probably the most important component of the relationship, and not just the companionship and not just the, having a partner and all of those things. And I always remember that. She told me that when I was pretty young. And I remember being like, that's whack as hell. Like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, okay, whatever. And because I was just trying to find a partner, and now I recognize that so much of how my husband and we dated for a little bit and then, went our separate ways for a couple of years and came back and started dating during COVID. And very similar like situation. We were friends first, very much so. And I think having that foundation of friendship is it's such a radical kind of component to a really healthy marriage, that so many people don't think about, especially in the world of like swiping and if you live in a major metropolitan area or anything like that. So I'm curious to know though, now that you have found your person and all of this, what has been your favorite part about being married to him?
Favorite part, and this sounds so bad, but I told him this. He knows this, so he won't be surprised when he sees this episode. My favorite part is knowing that I never have to date again. I know that sounds bad.
Absolutely.
It sounds so bad, but it's like my favorite part is knowing that I don't ever have to experience that BS again. Like I'm done. Like there's peace in knowing that I don't have to be out here in these ghetto streets ever again. That brings me peace. Right? Like that relaxes my spirit to know this.
For sure.
Probably the second part is just having a support system, having a cheerleader, having someone that's there to rub shoulders with you and cry on their shoulders, a person that's there in some of your darkest moments, that's constantly kind and nurturing. the ability to be in a marriage in which it really does feel like partnership. It really does feel like us against the world, especially when you're someone that's used to fighting the world by yourself. It is beautiful to have a partner that is really your ride or die in a support system. So I love that. And, you know, I've got friends and my sisters and my dad and my late mother. Like I have all these angles of individuals that are support systems, but the difference is the partner is there with you literally 24/7 most of the time. So I can have a support system from my sister, but she lives in Virginia. She's not there to be next to me every single day. So I think it's beautiful when you have a healthy
Yeah.
partnership and you have that person that's literally next to you, comforting you at all times. I can call him if I'm having a bad day. He comes home from work. We sit down, we talk, we get through it. And there's something very beautiful about that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Makes me think about, I know y'all have seen videos where women are like, if something ever happens to this man, I'm never doing it again. I'm not dating. I'm not ever living with a man ever again. Or they're like, I'm buying a house with all my girlfriends and I'm just
100%.
not doing it again. So
Yeah.
I
You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay
Yeah.
me to do it. Yeah.
not
No.
ever not ever dating again.
Ever. I'm good.
Love the good stuff. Something we all have in common besides pageantry and toxic ex-partners. What else could it be is unfortunately child sexual abuse, sexual
Yeah.
trauma in varying degrees among the three of us. And I started to ask you about this because it's shown up in my own life and in my own marriage. But I'm wondering, as a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, how has battling that trauma in your own life potentially showed up in your marriage? And if it has shown up, how have you been able to work through that together?
Oh, so I have a deep level of distrust for men. And that's the one thing that when your first sexual experience is almost torn away from you, and it's something that happens to you at such a very, very, very young age with a person that is supposed to be mine was a family member that lived in our house. And this is supposed to be a family member that loves you, that you're supposed to trust, and they trust you. Like there's this dynamic. So it's like, okay, if this person can do it, then I can't fathom what a stranger will do, what another male individual can do to me. So I've always stepped into spaces already having zero trust for men. And that has been my therapy and the focus of my healing for probably about 10 or 15 years at least. And during that time, I've been trying to reckon with forgiveness. And I've also been trying to reckon with how to love properly and make sure that when I see my partner, I don't see my abuser. And because of the fact that I've put them all under one category, and the category is men, and they're all in that one bucket, I have to find out ways to still honor my inner child who um, does not see safety in men, while also recognizing that my abuser is not all men, while also existing in a political climate of misogynistic activities. So it's almost this like dynamic and experience that it feels like it's never ending. And maybe you all can tell me how you're experiencing life right now, but it almost feels like I'm given a reason every day not to like y'all. It's like every day I'm given a reason to be frustrated with men. So, and then my husband comes home and I'm like, this was on the news and I'm mad at this and I'm mad at that. So it feels like this consistent battle that I still honestly haven't figured out yet. I haven't figured it out. And I can go even a little bit deeper and personal with you all because I had a speech in my mother's hometown where my abuser is located, and that's in Omaha, Nebraska. And unfortunately, had to see him. So it's also knowing that this person's presence is constantly around me and feeling like I can't escape it. So I feel like you all can relate from the experience of being a victim where you don't want to talk about it. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. The family that's around me, I don't want you all to be all cringe and weird. So I'm just going to stay silent, be someone that's sitting in the corner minding my business, or I'm going to smile and hug and try to act like nothing is wrong. And also recognizing the family members that have no idea what happens. And that, okay, we all went out to dinner and y'all didn't realize that you invited my abuser. You have no clue. So it's also this very strange dynamic of never being able to leave it behind. So I don't really have the answer necessarily, because I feel like, because I was just in Omaha literally a month ago, I have not figured out how to get through the healing process fully. All I know is that my focus has been on the reminder that I have individuals like my dad, I have individuals like my uncles, my grandpa, individuals in my life that have proven to me the love that men can show, and that I have to do the best that I can not to box them all into one space, while also recognizing that my husband is most definitely not my abuser, and that he doesn't deserve to experience the residue of the pain of my past.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I think I relate so deeply to all of that, but specifically like the piece about sort of like this concept of forgiveness, right? Like it's, I think a lot of times as survivors, it's very, people assume that because you talk openly about your experience or you have shared
Mhm.
anything with other people, especially on social media, people assume that you have, quote, healed, that you have, quote, gotten over it, that you have forgiven your abuser. And I share this quote with people pretty regularly because it had such a profound impact on me. But one of my sisters shared with me this quote she heard on a podcast. Yeah, it was on like a murder podcast. So she had been through this deeply traumatic experience, and she said, I don't want to forgive and forget. I want to remember and recover. And I always think of that pretty constantly because I don't know that I'll ever get to a place of like totally blissful, peaceful experience where I think of this person and I'm like, no, I forgive you. Like, it's totally fine. What you did to me is like A-okay, man. I don't think I'll ever get there, right? Because it's not okay. And so many of my loved ones had to bear the burden of that experience as well. And also, I don't want to forget what happened because then I feel like that invites in some kind of numbness of the experience, or it removes the experience, or doesn't allow me to exist as a person who went through this traumatic event and I'm separate from it in some capacity. And so the remember and recover always really resonated with me because it's like, okay, I can live with this experience. I don't want to ever forget it because now I know what I can get through and now I know what I can overcome. And I also don't want to ever forget it because it has allowed me to exist in a world where misogyny is always at the forefront of everything that we see constantly. So it's like this kind of holding both at the same time, right? Like we I think survivors tend to be quite good at that because we've had to be.
Yeah. For me, my abuser was actually just a peer, another little girl who was experiencing abuse. And so for me, the forgiveness comes for myself in the ways that that showed up in my young adulthood. You know, we all know that abuse translates differently for different people, and how that showed up when I was 17 to 25, 26, I'm not super proud of, but I also have to forgive myself because I didn't know. I didn't know that that's what it was, you know, rearing its head. So I think the issue of any type of abuse, but specifically something that's happened to you that's sexual, is so layered and really can impact your relationships, be it your marriage or your friendships or your relationships with your family. So it's a lot to navigate, and kudos to the men in our lives who are helping us do that. I'm interested, you recently have shared a little bit about y'all's journey with freezing your eggs and the desire to potentially do IVF. And what does that look like for you right now? It's been a little while since you put that out there.
Oh, it's just so exciting. You know, my dad is harassing me. He's like, we're going to get the grandkids. I'm like, Dad, please leave me alone. So egg freezing was actually a very comfortable experience. I think everyone can understand the fact that when you're shooting yourself in your stomach with shots or shooting yourself in your buttocks with shocks, that it hurts. It's uncomfortable, it's strange, it's burning. And then the amount of hormonal changes that happen during your IVF process, and it's about 3 to 4 weeks of shots, depending on whatever your doctor recommends. And it is a lot of emotions and all of these experiences. So I felt like it was very beautiful and almost very adulting and responsible of me and my husband to take a step into remembering that fertility is a conversation that we have to have, and we have to look at ways to family plan and put ourselves in the best position to be able to have children. I've never, doubted the fact that being 35 meant that as I get older, my eggs are going to continue to decline in health. So I looked at this experience truly as a beautiful experience, and just the idea of knowing that I have 5 embryos, and I'll tell you all about the embryos. So there's 5, and then we did the genders. So 3 are boys and 2 are girls. I want to use all 5, but my husband is not. He's not. He's like, let's just see. But I keep telling myself that motherhood is something that I am yearning more and more each day. Like my eggs are twisting in my stomach, just ready to release. And every time I look at my husband, I've been trying to trap him for months, and he's just like, no. But it's so funny because as we move forward and as we mature and adult, I just realized that my partner actually impacts my desire to want to be a mother. Everyone knows that there's not necessarily safety in motherhood, right? Whether it's from, struggles with giving birth or having the support that you need to be able to have a proper household, affording daycare and childcare services, all of those things. But because I look at my husband, and I know he's going to be such a great, great, great father, and I know he's going to be a great provider, I know he's going to provide safety for me. It just makes me want to jump more at us. Let's go ahead and get this party started. So my recommendation to women is, regardless of the man, because I planned on freezing eggs regardless. There's eggs and there's embryos. The embryos are fertilized eggs. So always look at ways. If you think there's even a hint of a desire that you want to have kids in the future, it's definitely important to look into IVF. A lot of companies keep very secret the health insurance and all the things that they're willing to provide employees. So just do your research and see what's possible. But I think it's just the responsible thing to do. And for me and for him, we just didn't want to rush the marriage thing. Like I really just wanted to be me and him and our dog for however so long. And then in a few years, just see when it's comfortable for us. But it was definitely a beautiful experience. The surgery was okay, but my recovery was not as great as I'd like. But it was just something that felt like the right things to do. And now I'm kind of at peace with procreating in the future because I know that I've got eggs waiting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I think, I speak for myself when I say I'm in a similar place of, we want children, but we definitely wanted to experience the first few years of our marriage just together and really take that time because it is so special and it is such an amazing time to really build, I think, those foundational pieces of your marriage that are required for a child to have a healthy household to grow up in. So like I think that's amazing that you and your spouse have really put so much thought and care into this process that is usually very sped up for people. It's usually a quick process. It's usually something that I think a lot of people actually really don't think a whole lot about. They just are sort of under the assumption that, oh, I'm going to get married and then have children because that's what everyone told me I was supposed to do. So I'll just follow those steps. So I just think it's lovely that you have put so much thought and care into this process. And I think, your children will be so lucky for that. So I'm curious to know what advice you would give to someone who's maybe in a similar position where, and maybe even going back a little bit further, where they aren't married yet and they are maybe still playing the dating game. They're still trying to kind of navigate relationships, but they know they want a family. Aside from taking those steps to freeze your eggs, are there any other things that you really were thinking about prior to marriage that you think have set you up for success now that you're in this position of wanting children?
I would say it was always going to be in my brain to freeze eggs. And if for any reason, because we all know that freezing eggs is expensive, it's incredibly privileged to be able to freeze them. So for those that let's say themselves, hey, I don't have $15,000 to $20,000 to invest, and my company is not going to pay for it, or I'm an entrepreneur and I don't have a health insurance company to be able to pay for it. There are tests and things that you can do to be able to see. I think it's called modern fertility. I'm almost positive, to be able to see the current state of your fertility right now. So I think that that's the first step that I would do if you're just curious about, well, let me just see, because maybe I'm healthy. Maybe I have the eggs of an 18-year-old. Who knows? So I think it's good to do some research and be able to see what tests and talk to your doctor to see where you are physically to be able to reproduce in the future. Next thing, I think it's just important just to remain as healthy as possible. Make sure that you're being very intentional about the foods and the things that you're drinking and eating on a day-to-day basis. I've always been someone that's very cognizant of my health. I'm always someone that tries to make sure that I have some sort of physical activity a few times a week. I try to make sure I take about 16 vitamins a day. So that's also really something good. So there's always those types of things. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be an egg freezing. I've seen people that have healthy children at every age. It's important, even if for any reason you can't freeze eggs, that's okay. Make sure that you're still taking your health very seriously. Don't get lazy about it. Take your vitamins. It's easy to pop vitamins each day. It's easy to do a walk around the lake a couple times a week. Make sure you're doing that to be able to prioritize. And most importantly, I don't care what the data says, what the statistics say. Do not feel rushed into having kids before you're ready. You're doing yourself no justice, and you're doing that kid no justice. You need to wait until it's the proper time. And I think that that's one thing that I had to work on in my mind, is this feeling of societal rushing and this push to do something before I'm ready, before I'm financially, mentally, emotionally ready, or physically ready. If I have the right apartment and the right space to be able to raise the children, what school district am I in? And I'm at the point where I really don't care if I have to wait until I'm 45, 50, it is what it is, but I'm definitely not going to bring children into this world before I'm ready and before I think that I'm going to be able to provide them a healthy upbringing.
It's funny that you say that. We had a conversation with our friend Amanda a couple of weeks ago, and similar thought process, right? There's so much societal pressure to have kids at a young age. Maggie and I were joking, and Maggie's not even 30, but we were joking. We were joking.
I'm 29. I turned 30 in July, but I do feel, I would say I feel 35.
Okay.
Like, I feel like my siblings are quite a bit older than me. My parents had me at 43. So, like, I feel like I'm kind of like, mid 30s.
Yeah.
We were joking that, like, I just recently started feeling like an adult. It's been very new. Even though, I mean, I've been paying my own bills since I was 18, but just recently started feeling settled and exercising that healthy communication and understanding my emotions, like all of those things. So now feels like the time to grow my family, but not 10 years ago for sure. So definitely think that needs to be heard over and over again for especially younger women. It's okay. It's okay to wait until you feel ready. And if you don't feel ready, don't do it. So I watched a couple episodes of Sour Loss, Sweet Lessons, and you recently posted an episode a couple of months ago talking about how it's never too late to change. What have you recently discovered is out of alignment for you, and how have you taken steps to change it?
I am a reactor. And Mallory, you know this. I am a quick reactor. I am quick to respond. I'm quick to say my opinion. And that has been me for so many years, where I'm very outspoken, and I've always valued the power of my opinion and being very clear and honest about how I feel about certain topics, especially when it comes to things that I care about, whether it's the military, whether it's pageantry, whether it's America, whether it's Black women, whether it's our community, like whatever the topic is, if it's something that directly affects the lives of the people that I care about, I take it very deeply. And, Mallory, me and you had a couple conversations via Instagram back during 2020, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. And I was the type of person, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to say how I feel, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And what I discovered throughout those years of being very reactive is that sometimes I'm like, oop, I wish I could pull that back a little bit. I wish I could pull that back. So I've gotten to a point in my life, and that's why I think it's so funny that you said, like, I really feel like I'm an adult now. I feel like that's where I am too. I feel like my frontal lobe took a little bit longer to develop, but now it's here. It is here. It's thriving. And in truth, I don't react anymore. Now I sit back, I keep my opinion to myself most of the time. Now I don't want any problems really, but if it's something that's serious, I'm okay with re-recording something 10 times over. I'm okay with being very specific and particular with my words. And I think that that's what comes with adulting, having a large platform, making sure that you're being intentional with how you're speaking. So for me, that's one thing that I believe it's never too late to change. People always thought I was like the pageantry warrior. When everything's going down in pageantry, Deshauna's going to come say something. She's going to say something. She's going to tell us what to do. And now I've been crickets. I've been crickets. I will speak when I want to speak or if I want to speak. Or I'm just going to wipe my hands clean of it, because honestly, one thing I've realized is that not every fight is our fight. Now, that's another thing that I've also had to recognize. And that's something that I've been changing, is I no longer want to be the warrior for everyone's problems or the problems of specific communities. I don't want to be the go-to of Deshauna, what's your opinion? I kind of just want to stay out of it most times because I've just grown out of certain spaces. That's definitely something that I've been working on that's slowly evolving as a Deshauna natural go-to, which is the response. Now I'm crickets. Now I'm just like, maybe I'll think about jumping in, maybe. But for right now, I'm not interested in being a part of this. And it's like, we have to let in the new generation of warriors come in and speak on certain topics too. So that's one thing I've been working on, is just the power of silence. Sometimes silence speaks so much louder than words. And we have to learn when not to respond, because oftentimes people are provoking us with the desire to have us respond. So I've gotten to a point where actually I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm going to be crickets about this, and you can just guess what I'm thinking.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. We would love to play a quick round of a game called Fury or Fun with you. So basically, we will list some things for you, and we want to know if they make you furious, if you think they're fun.
All right. Up first is arriving at dinner 20 minutes late.
So I feel like I'm kind of in between, because I'm sometimes 20 minutes late too. So it depends. Maybe if it's my birthday dinner, it's fury. If it's just a regular dinner outing, then fun. That's fine.
I was not expecting you to say that. I was not expecting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. Between military and Miss USA, I was thinking you were going to be like, that makes me so angry.
Right on time.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm late all the time. Yeah, I'm definitely not an on-time girly. No.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. I've got to do better about that, though, because I don't know if it's something for me that I brag about, but I definitely got to do better. It just depends on, like, the importance of it, you know? Like, if it's something super important, you definitely need to be on time. But if it's just in a leisure dinner, well, a couple minutes late is okay.
For sure.
Who cares about that reservation?
Yeah.
It's fine.
I call them ahead of time. We're running a little late.
Exactly. Okay, so our next one here is the back and forth drama between millennials and Gen Z.
Fun. I think it's fun to look at the differences between us. You know, there's my little brother is, oh gosh, I think he's turning 23 this summer. So he's a Gen Z-er, and there's so many differences between us, but I think it's so laughable to understand how just the way in which these generations change. But I definitely think millennials are better.
For sure.
For sure.
Let's
Totally
get clear.
better. And we're all aging fantastically. So I also think we're aging better than Gen Z. A lot of them look much older than we do.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. There's a debate on TikTok, I think sometime last year, about who's aging better, and it was totally millennials aging better.
I have to agree. You want to know why we're aging better? Because we're more progressive. Open-minded, and your heart is open to others, then it just shows from the inside out.
I agree.
You hear that, Gen Z? Your move to Christian nationalism is not helping your face. Stop it.
Not.
It's gross.
It's not.
Okay, the next one is sharing food off of your plate.
Fine. Yeah, I definitely am a communal eater, right? where whoever's food is available, you want to try this, you want to try that. Yeah, that's
Oh
definitely.
yeah, we love
Mhm.
a tapas moment.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, our last one here is I've been having a really difficult time with this one lately, and I don't know, like, I can't articulate quite why my experience is this way. I think it might be a Gen Z millennial thing.
Okay.
Okay, slick back buns and ponytails. Like the clean girl aesthetic that everybody's
Yeah.
doing. Like, tell me your thoughts.
Oh, I'm fun. But here's the thing. I just did a slick back ponytail literally on the speech that I posted today. I'm pulling it up. Yeah, like a that.
Oh, gorge. Love it. Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's all fun for me because I've always been someone that has, hair, draping hair, whatever, curls, whatever it is. So I've never been a ponytail girly. I only get them done a couple times a year because my hair is natural and I don't want the heat damage. But every time I do it, I love the way it feels. I love the way it snatches your face back. And yeah, I like the clean girl look for sure.
Hmm.
And it's just easier to maintain. Like having a lot of hair can be a lot sometimes.
Maggie,
I
do you need
can't.
a pony tutorial? Do you
I don't
need
know.
the
No.
ultimate ponytail lady to give you one?
Here's my thing, you guys. I really think that I think it's giving me PTSD from like baton twirling competitions. Like growing up, we would like slick back our hair. We would do that fake hair piece from Claire's. And I don't know. And now I'm really weird about my hairline. Like I really want to go to Turkey and get a hairline transplant. Like I'm very weird about like showing off too much up here, you know?
Yeah, I'm the
Funny.
same way. Like all I see is forehead when I do it.
I
So
know,
it's like,
same. I'm like, I have a six
yeah,
head here. Like
yeah,
what? Yeah.
same.
But
Literally.
I will say it has been that way my whole life. So like when people are like, you have a receding hairline because they're being dicks on the internet, I'm like, actually, plot twist. My hairline's just been this way my whole life. It's just bad genetics, man. So anyway,
Yeah. I was literally just looking at a childhood photo of me and I'm like, it was a reminder to me that okay, my forehead is not getting bigger. It's literally been this size since I was like
it's
5.
been that way,
I
100%.
need the reassurance of looking at childhood photos.
Goodness.
Yeah, mine's
I
been that
love
way.
this absolute diatribe into hairlines and foreheads. Okay, so last thing before you go, Deshauna, we start every show saying you can't be pretty furious without being pretty first. So what product did you bring to share with folks today that you love?
This is the product. Okay, it's my go-to. So it's Mary Kay Time Wise Pore Minimizer. When I tell you, people are like, Deshauna, you look like you don't have any pores. Oh, I have pores. I have them. But this cream, when I tell you, you put it on the night before, it's the first thing that you put on right after you wash your face and then add whatever the rest of your skincare routine is. When I tell you, you're going to wake up and your skin is going to look so smooth and shiny and glistening. So yeah, I'm a pore minimizer girl. This is my absolute go-to. And I've been using it for like a decade.
First of all, it's working.
Oh,
Second
thank
of
you.
all, way to throw us back to Mary Kay.
I
We
was
love.
just gonna say, I have not heard
Yes.
the words Mary Kay in succession in like, I mean, it's been years. So
So
the
true.
pink Cadillac, oh, slay.
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember that. Yes.
Love
Mary
it.
Kay's still that girl. I still use a good amount of
Love
Mary
it.
Kay products. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Love. Well, Deshauna, thank you so much. This was really
Thank
fun.
you. This is amazing.
Thank y'all so much for having me. Truly, this has been a great conversation.